Does it sometimes seem like when you're playing Monopoly that more places on the Monopoly board are hit sometimes more than other places?
Especially if you got a hotel on it. Seems like
Yeah.
you got a hotel, no one ever hits your spot.
So we decided to test the probabilities, rolling the dice, 100,000 simulations of the game, 100 turns each game, to try and see which spaces are landed on more often.
Java program is going to play Monopoly 100,000 times.
And the Java program, it's gotten a little tired of Monopoly.
It hates
took
the
a long
game now.
time.
The Java
Yeah.
program does not want it's refusing to play anymore, so this is all we're going to
Yeah.
get out of it.
Yeah, this is all we can do. But 100,000 is a lot of simulations.
So what we said was you roll the dice, you go around the board. There's 40 spaces on the Monopoly board.
Yeah.
You roll the dice,
First thing
2
we
through
did,
12,
just roll the dice, see what we got.
and you go around
2
the
through
board.
12.
Just rolling the
Go
dice,
around the board.
going around the board. How
Yeah.
are some spots hit more than others?
So are some spots hit more than others?
So 100,000 games. Let's talk about how
So-
you roll the dice 100 times per game.
So roll the dice
100,000 games. It's a
100
Java
times per
program.
game.
Then we use Python to
100,000
plot
times.
the graphs.
So then we use Python to plot the graphs. And this is what we came up with right here.
It's just rolling the dice, just going around the board. No special cards redirecting you, no go to jail, nothing like that. Just rolling the dice, going around the board, what happens? But you got
Just
one,
rolling.
got a peak there.
You got a peak. It looks like it's at 7 right there.
7. Now these aren't,
7.
it's not a big peak. You're
Yeah.
looking at 2.6 at the height versus 2.45 at the bottom. So it's a minor difference, but there is a noticeable difference. So 7 after go is at its peak.
Yeah.
Now 7 after go
And
is chance.
that is the chance card.
And that's
which-
because you
yeah,
start on go,
start on go.
and you often roll a 7.
And you
7's
often
most
roll a
common.
7, you see,
6 and 8 are common too.
6 is maximum, 1's minimum. You get just 7 is more often on the roll.
So what we're looking at here is basically the first lap around the
It
board.
is pretty much just the first roll because you start at go, you roll a 7 more often, and that's what adds.
And all the other
So
laps, it kind of
Then
starts
it
to even
just
out.
evens out more. So we decided to try without the first lap, and it sort of peaked at 1 and just went down, and that is probably because of the last lap. 'cause
Now
you
we
have
think
to
we're looking at
stop
the last
somewhere.
lap. Remember, we only roll the dice 100 times.
Yeah.
So if you're going to roll 100 times, you're more likely to end closer to where you started. So these are more common and these are less. So if you remove the first lap, you got something a little flatter. But
Yeah.
then instead of 100 rolls,
Then we did 1,000 rolls,
1,000
and
rolls.
it sort of just evened itself out more.
so the longer the
So
game,
we
there
think
really
it's
isn't
just
any difference.
The same probability,
Yeah.
pretty much.
If you roll the dice so many times, your game is so long that the
Yeah.
first and the last lap kind of get lost in the whole overall mix.
Sometimes it can be really long too.
It
if
can
just
be. It
nothing
seems
is
like a long
happening.
game. So I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
about a million rolls, but
Yeah, we had to pause our game overnight or something.
the kind of the end result here is if you
Yeah.
ignore the first lap around and the last lap around,
Yeah,
all
you
the
know.
spaces are about evenly chance. If you have a long enough
Yeah.
game, you're equally likely to go in any space, more or less.
Yep. And
Then-
then what we did was we decided to add the go to jail.
Started simple,
So if you land
go to
on
jail.
that, you
Spot
go
number
over
30
here.
goes you back
To
to
jail.
10. So did we mention 0 is go,
0 is
1 through 40
Oh yeah,
all
you're
around.
right. Yeah, we should probably. I'll
And,
put that in 0 through 39.
So you get to 30 and you go back to,
You go back
to 10.
to 10.
We didn't talk about staying in there, rolling doubles or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's just-
nothing like that.
So then we get a different graph. Now we added one thing just to go to jail, and
So
now we got a whole
this-
different graph.
we got a different peak up here.
That peak,
There's still a peak at 7 because
you
you
can
just
still just see it.
there's not a big
Point to the peak
though.
there at 7.
Right here,
It's not
this
as
one.
much, but that's the first lap still.
Yeah, that's still
You
the
got this
first
much
lap.
bigger peak here,
You
a
got
bigger
bigger
range
peak,
now.
2.2,
2.2, 2.8.
2.8. A bigger peak. This one is at 17 because it's 7 away from jail. And it
So-
also keeps this part up high too because you roll a second time after
So
that.
what happens here? You go around the board and you get go to jail.
Go
That
to
sends
jail,
you back to
go
jail.
back here. Then you
And
might
then
roll
7
a 7
after the jail,
5, 6, 7.
17,
Community, chest.
Doesn't do you too much
It
good,
doesn't
but St.
really, yeah.
James and Tennessee are also pretty
These
big.
ones you might get a lot too, yeah.
And that's just the effect of jail. So
It is,
See,
yeah, you just get the jail.
16, 17, and 18 are fairly high. And
16,
after that
17,
too.
18.
And you think about it, that peak we talked about at 7 there, that only happens the first time around.
Yeah,
but
that
you can
would
go to
only happen
jail
once.
any
yeah.
time in the game, multiple times, many times.
Yeah, you do go
So
to
you
jail
get a much
lot
higher peak.
sometimes, it seems.
And then all the spaces after the jail
Then
are
it
high
just,
peaks too.
Yeah,
So anything more than like 6 away from jail are going to be fairly high.
about the go to jail spot though, because if you go
And if
You
do,
would never be on this spot
you'd
because it
never
goes
land
straight
here
from one
because
to
you
the
immediately
other.
exit. So you get a
go
low point.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get Park Place.
Park
And
Place.
that is a very low point on this graph. If you look at the
Spot 37
spot
there.
over there, it's
Not
a
too
low
popular.
point. Yep,
Nor are the others around it.
that spot right
Because
there.
you're never on jail and rolling yet
So you
6,
would
7, and
never-
8, which is very
yeah.
common. All the other spots on the board, you can roll a 6, 7, or 8 from them and get 6, 7, or 8 away. But you can never get 6, 7, or 8 away from jail by rolling a 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah,
because
you never.
From go to jail,
That
rather.
would never happen from go to jail.
So you get a low point there.
So these are all the effects of of the jail. Go to jail.
Just jail.
Then when you add all the chance and community chest cards, that
Monopoly
you
is a
land
much more complicated game than just go
on,
to
you get-
jail.
You get this
Chance and
graph,
community chance.
which is
they
really
send you all different places.
because it has a lot of high points and low points and everything. So let's take a look at some of those
This is
highest
the real
points
game here.
and the lowest points that you get.
Also, now we're talking fairly big differences here.
We are, yeah, 2
It's
to
not enormous. It's not like some
3.2%.
points are never landed on and some points are landed on a lot. You get 2% at lowest and 3% at highest. And you think about 1 over 40 is something like 2.5%. So if all the spots were equally probable, it'd be about 2.5% chance on each.
It would be, yeah, you get about right in the middle
Some are
or
as low
so,
as
yeah.
2%, some as high as 3%. That's a 50% difference.
That is a 50%
50% more
difference.
likely,
Yeah,
says
from the high
50% more times
Yeah.
be on the high ones than the low. So there's a noticeable
Okay.
difference here. It might take you a lot of games to appreciate
it,
that,
It might, yeah,
but there's a difference.
actually, it wouldn't take that many times though. Just 2 or 3 games, and you'd
You'd
realize,
probably start to
yeah.
notice. There's a pattern here, and if you
Yeah.
want to, bet like in cards, you bet on
Yeah, you
probabilities.
can bet. So you can play this strategically.
So what's our strategy?
Now
here?
the
What do we want to
now
do?
the number 1 spot is jail
Yeah.
because of going to jail.
You go there a lot,
Yeah.
and that's unhelpful to us.
But that does
Go to
does not
jail
really
is
help.
not a strategy for playing the game.
So
So, we've skipped that one. Where's the go to jail peak?
go to jail peak
the
is
biggest
that
one.
top one up
So
there.
what else we got here? What are other options?
The second one though is 24, which is Illinois. It's that peak
Illinois
right up
Avenue, right
there,
Not too bad.
right up at the top.
Now, what's special about Illinois?
Illinois has a few things. It's got 14 spaces away from jail because you
So
add
you're at
7.
jail,
You get
and
7.
you go 2
you
sevens
add
in a
twice.
row, which is a little
It
less
can-
likely than 1, but not too bad.
Yeah.
You're 14 away from jail.
There's also a card that leads you straight to Illinois too. One of those cards tells you to go to Illinois Avenue, and that also increases the
So
chances.
those two things together, you got two things
two
driving to
things.
Illinois, making Illinois a hotspot.
Yeah, so 2 things can add
Illinois
to
gets a lot of
Illinois.
traffic.
Now, the next point is go, which is that point right on the left
Yeah,
there.
a lot of go to go,
Advance to
to go. A lot of those,
Which might not help you unless
again, unhelpful.
you have
Unhelpful.
those house rules, which they say in the Monopoly board, don't do house rules.
First
but
rules,
a lot
don't
of
have house
people,
rules. But
A lot of people do that.
so the extra $100 for collecting go, you're going to hit that a little more often.
So you might be able to count on getting some more money from that. You got next one though is 19, which is New York, which is right up here. That
Peak.
point.
And the ones nearby. There's a few right before.
The ones
too.
nearby are pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So
Now-
why New York? What's
New York,
special
though,
about New York?
Is right over here. There are no cards that tell you to go to New York, so you might wonder why is this a high point. You go 7 back, you get to the electric company. There's a card that can tell you to go to the nearest utility. There's a card that tells you to go to St. Charles, and there's lots of cards that tell you to go to jail. So those 3 combined at 7, 8, and 9
A lot
spaces.
of things adding up together to tell you New York.
Get you
Very
there.
complicated game. A lot of little things going on here.
It's also 14 from the Reading Railroad over there.
Yeah, another hot
Which
spot
also-
we'll talk about in a minute here.
That is, Reading Railroad is another big spot. So yeah, New York and the ones around it too.
So those are fairly good properties to buy.
Yeah, right up in
New
that
York
area.
and company there, the orange
Yeah.
cards.
So then you go to the Reading Railroad, which is number 5. That's a high point again.
Yep.
And that's because there's a Advance to the Nearest Railroad card, and there's an Advance to Reading Railroad card too.
Couple
So
different cards sending you there.
That can definitely help you get there. Now, if you want to learn some strategy from these things, the highest sets are orange, red, and yellow, because they can be gotten to from jail. So you see you go 7 from jail, you get to the orange, you go again, give or take, you get to red, and then again to yellow.
So these are the properties you do want to buy.
So these are very high probability.
And you also have to factor in what
Ones.
do houses cost on these properties. There's another
So,
thing. You got the
you go to the
cheaper
cost.
properties, you buy a lot of
Yeah.
houses.
These ones
kind
are
of
the cheaper
lower
ones
cheap,
down here.
and the moderate
These ones
cheap.
are more expensive,
And those are
you
real
get-
expensive.
You get more money though if
So
somebody
not
lands
only
on
are
them.
these the most likely to be landed on, they're also possibly the most efficient. You can buy lots of
So
houses,
yeah, this
and you
might
can
be the
charge
best.
a lot for it.
And this corner
So
around
strategy
here, yeah.
is probably to stick near free parking and buy up those
Stick
spots.
near free parking.
Or maybe even into the yellow, where
Or
the house
into
is the
yellow
same
area,
price,
Yeah.
and there's probabilities that you
Or
wind
yeah,
up there
back
too.
there, yeah. Then
Ones you want to avoid.
now you want to avoid the lowest probability ones. You got 1 through 3, which is down in this bottom area here.
1 through 3, remember, right after go.
You got the
Mediterranean.
Mediterranean and
Baltic.
Baltic right there.
Low probability of hitting them.
Low probability.
Really cheap, you can put up lots of houses,
They're
but then
cheap.
those houses don't get you much
But
value.
not
You
many
don't
people
collect a
land on
lot,
them,
so
though.
might want to avoid those.
So yeah, they're around 2 rolls from go to jail, which
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
something. 37 to 38. That's Park Place and luxury tax. They're about 1 roll from jail.
So go to jail.
From go to
So
jail.
you're on go to jail. 1 roll away
1 roll away. you
is
get
Park
this
Place and luxury tax.
2. Boardwalk has a higher probability though because it's got a card that tells you to go to it. Now, again for strategy, you get dark blue, which is sometimes brown, light blue, and blue sets are less often hit because you know the 7 thing. Again, you go from one to the other. And so that is the strategy of Monopoly.
To put it simply, don't buy around go.
Don't buy around
Do
go.
buy around
around
Park
free
Place and free parking.
So, let me know how this goes. Comment down below if you want more of these, and like and subscribe.